Cronkite News, in-depth, insightful, innovative.
Coming up, 4 officers, a 3-year investigation, 1 Phoenix police precinct dealing with felony charges.
Plus, a life and death dilemma, the latest on one man's struggle to survive in the face of massive health care cuts.
And from Sun Devil to Devil Dog.
You're commanding, 150, 200,000 troops. You're in combat. It matters.
Why this Marine once called ASU's football field a combat zone.
Cronkite Newswatch starts right now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite Newswatch. I'm Natalie Podgorski.
And I'm Tom Miller. We begin tonight with more troubling news in an already troubled Phoenix police precinct.
Today, Attorney General Terry Goddard announced the felony indictments of police officers assigned to the South Mountain precinct. Reporter Aldo Vasquez is tracking this developing story and joins us from downtown Phoenix. Aldo?
Natalie, according to the indictment, 3 current police officers and 1 former police officer were indicted on felony theft and fraud charges. The Attorney General says that the 4 took money for off-duty security work that they allegedly did not perform. The 3-year investigation uncovered several incidents from 2005 to 2007. This news comes just a month after new commander Chris Crockett was appointed to lead the embattled South Mountain precinct. This is the same precinct where Officer Richard Chrisman is currently facing a murder charge for shooting an unarmed suspect. And back in March, a South Mountain officer put City Councilman Michael Johnson in handcuffs after the councilman refused to back away from his neighbor's home, which was on fire. Just about an hour ago, Police Chief and Public Safety Manager Jack Harris addressed these latest problems for the precinct.
If you expect the top person to be able to solve every issue that is going on in the organization and fix it when they're not even aware that it's occurring, I don't think that's reasonable.
And late this afternoon, Phoenix Mayor Phil Gordon released this statement urging the public to withhold judgment until the case is over. He also hopes that the allegations of a few does not taint the reputation of the hundreds of other police officers who work hard to keep our streets safe. Live in downtown Phoenix, Aldo Vasquez, Cronkite News.
Meantime, we continue to track turmoil within the Navajo Nation. It has now been 2 weeks since the election to choose a new president for the Navajo people. But as Lauren Gilger shows us, there are a lot of questions tonight surrounding the man tapped to lead the tribe.
That's right, Tom. The future of the country's largest Indian reservation is in turmoil today after a special investigator slapped dozens of tribal council members with charges just days before their presidential election, including the man who was elected president. The streets of Window Rock, Arizona seem calm and quiet, but behind closed doors, turmoil is brewing within the Navajo Nation.
Navajos had these kinds of turmoil before.
Peterson Zaw was the first president of the Navajo Nation,
but they were never really at the stage that it's at right now.
At the center of the controversy, the presidential election. The losing candidate is demanding a recount, and the winner is facing a criminal trial. Linda Lovejoy thought she would be the first woman to ever be elected to the nation's highest office, until the poll results came in on November 2nd. 3 days after her opponent was charged in a widespread slush funds investigation, Lovejoy lost the election.
If the difference in the vote was something like less than 100 or 50 or something like that, I can understand. But the numbers is over 3,000.
Edison Wanaka is the director of the Navajo Election Administration, and he's coming under fire. Lovejoy is alleging that there were biased poll officials, poll closures, and illegal campaign contributions given to her opponents. While Lovejoy is hoping for a recount, the new president-elect Ben Shelley was recently presented with this: criminal charges of conspiracy, fraud, and theft. His trial is set for January 18th, exactly 1 week after his inauguration.
I think everyone was shocked.
Frank Brown, a longtime investigator with the nation's prosecutor's office, has spent the last 7 months helping to build a case against Shelley and 76 other members of the tribe's council. While everyone may have been shocked by the indictments, Brown was not.
I've been doing this for about 26 years, and I've seen a lot of things come and go.
And to Lovejoy, that pattern of government corruption is exactly why the election results cannot be trusted. Lovejoy is demanding that Shelley be forced out of his new office if found guilty. In the case that both Shelley and the next in line are convicted of these charges, a special election could be held, but only if they both chose to resign from office or if they were forced out by the nation's Ethics and Rules Board. Confusing times. I'm Lauren Gilger, Cronkite News.
Speaking of politics, there is a battle brewing over a decision by lawmakers to cut state Medicaid coverage for some organ transplants. Lawmakers slashed the funding to balance the budget, but at least one man is speaking out, saying that cut will kill him. Reporter Whitney Clark has follow-up on this story and joins us live from our control room.
602. That's right. 2 days ago, a father of 4 was denied a life-saving liver transplant because of budget cuts to state health care plans. Now he's reaching out to the community for help. Take data. 2 days ago, Francisco Felix thought he would leave the hospital a healthy man. But now back at home with his family, he's afraid he'll never see his 4 young daughters grow into women.
I'm afraid. I'm afraid for my kids, for my wife. I'm afraid that something bad is going to happen to me.
But with the help of the National Transplant Assistance Fund, a nonprofit that helps families like the Felixes raise money to pay medical expenses, Felix has hope he'll get the $200,000 he needs.
The community is very strong, and they want to help us. And this morning, we opened a checking account.
And he's not alone. 23 patients at the very same hospital are facing the same problem, and about 100 patients statewide who need not only new livers but heart and bone marrow transplants have had their coverage for those procedures taken away as well. And State Senator Sylvia Allen predicts even more cuts may be made to access in the next legislative session.
We need to revamp totally the access program so that we can take care of the people that really need it.
Allen says there simply just isn't enough money to support access.
I think it'd be really great if we handed access back to the federal government since they control it. It's their Medicaid program. Say, here you are, take it.
But until then, Felix will continue to raise money for a new liver and hang on to the one thing he does have: hope. Now Francisco plans on fundraising for his surgery for as long as it takes. Live in the control room, I'm Whitney Clark, Cronkite News.
Thank you, Whitney. Now, all this highlights healthcare funding and reform, and these were the topics of discussion today in a meeting at the state capitol. Lawmakers wanted to hear the impact our state will face when the new national healthcare reform takes place. Reporter Dan Nettles spent the day at the Capitol, and he joins us live in the newsroom. Dan?
Tom, as you know, the Health Care Reform Act has been one of the most polarizing issues in the nation since President Obama took office. But today, it was time for our state senators to listen to concerns and ask questions of their own. Kim Van Pelt, the Associate Director of Arizona Health Futures, was the first to address the Senate committee.
I'm here to talk a little bit about how healthcare reform may have an impact on behavioral health.
Through notes and a PowerPoint presentation, Van Pelt showed the reform may be good news for people with behavioral health problems. The legislation improves the coverage through private insurance and expands the state Medicaid program to help more patients.
And it also makes sure that people are able to get the services they need through their health insurance.
Not so optimistic was Debbie Johnston. She was there to represent Arizona hospitals, and she says payment for care is a key problem.
The concerns that we see over this is that Medicare already underpays Arizona hospitals.
And even though no decision regarding state Medicaid will be made until next legislative session, Johnston says the entire medical industry is bracing for massive budget cuts.
The hospital industry will receive, it's estimated, about $155 billion in cuts over the next 2 years through the legislation.
Now, this wasn't the first of these healthcare reform meetings for the Senate committee. The goal for them is to hear from different agencies involving healthcare so the real debates on implementation can get underway at the start of the next legislative session in January. Live in the newsroom, Dan Nettles, Cronkite News.
Thanks, Dan. A new report shows the boycott of Arizona in the wake of passing the controversial immigration law SB 1070 has cost the state more than $140 million. The report was commissioned by the Center for American Progress. It claims hotels lost $45 million in revenue alone, and it projects the state will continue losing revenue from vacationers for at least another year.
Meantime, business owners on both sides of the border are hoping that holiday travelers will help boost their bottom line. And there's a new program in place at one key border crossing that could make the journey go a lot smoother. That's where reporter Tony Spahar traveled from Phoenix more than 200 miles to the border town of San Luis, where he checked out the latest from this busy border checkpoint.
If you come down to cross the border at San Luis, you'll find a lot of traffic on both sides. Long lines waiting for inspection keep travelers stuck. But now there's an easier way to get through.
It's much quicker to go through a Sentry dedicated commuter lane than to wait in your average lane.
Sentry stands for Secure Electronic Network for Travelers Rapid Inspection. It's a new program designed to cut back on time spent waiting to cross the border.
It's a dedicated commuter lane for trusted travelers who have already undergone a background investigation.
We were in San Luis in September when people applied for these passes. Lucero Cortez came to sign up her grandparents and says it will be easier and faster for them to travel to and from Mexico every weekend and get back in time for appointments in the U.S.
They have problems with going to the doctor. They have to go faster, and this is going to help them go faster.
Sentry members go through a background check, and if they pass, they're given a special card which is automatically scanned as they drive through the lane.
The officers actually are able to retrieve the information of that vehicle onto the database system that they're looking at.
There's a pedestrian sentry lane too. You just simply walk through the turnstile and they're scanned automatically as they come through.
But will technology and automation cut back on security?
We never remove the factor of the officer. The officer's still there. They always have the opportunity to still inspect them whether they are a Sentry member or not.
Sentry passes are good for 5 years and cost about $120. A small price for some travelers looking to save time. In San Luis, Tony Spahar, Cronkite News.
Back here in the Valley, inspectors are offering a reward to anyone who can help them track down thieves who are stealing post-office boxes. Reporter Laura Yanis joins us live from Phoenix, where these thieves have hit more than once. Laura?
Natalie, not one, but 3 postal blue boxes like the ones behind me have been stolen from the streets of Phoenix. The 3rd postal box was taken Monday from 19th Avenue and West Maryland, and people are getting concerned. This postal collection box is not the same box the community has been dropping their mail into for years. It's a replacement box. The original box was stolen Monday, and Frank Beguiquio says he's always been worried about leaving his mail.
Sometimes I even feel nervous dropping it in, and sure enough, they took it.
Frank was one of the many people who left mail in this box on Monday when the theft happened. Postal inspectors say these thieves are bold.
And certainly when you put mail in a blue collection box, you just expect that the mail carrier is going to come and collect that. You don't expect that it would end up in the hands of thieves.
And Patricia says this is the time of the year thieves target to cash in.
Around holiday times, they're hoping that people have let their guards down a little and possibly mailing checks, cash, gift cards.
As for Pablo Leal, who also lives nearby, he says he plans to keep dropping his mail off here.
No, I'll continue doing it again, and unless it happens again, then it's a big consideration about maybe going somewhere else.
Investigators are looking for a late model white Nissan Sentra in connection with this latest theft, and they're offering a $10,000 reward. Live in downtown Phoenix, Laura Yanes, Cronkite News.
Coming up on Newswatch.
But you just hate to see the amount of fish in the lake go down.
A new virus that isn't harmful to people but could potentially hurt an important sport to most Arizonans.
And health food that may be in bad trouble, why these greens could cost Arizonans some green.